It starts in the real and difficult conversations about sets, about purpose, about and what it actually is. And that's why we started the Science Group Institute, which is a youth-led space where we bring in the classroom and explore fresh ways to build global careers. I mean, the field was already here. It's in AI, in work, digital skill, and the constant change. If we adapt, less time. Now, what do we have to do to stay relevant? We need more than just we need to be adaptable. We need some mastery, strategy, creativity, and the right exposure. Such a pre is all about change before it even comes. Exactly. The show is an open floor dialogue room where youth like you and I can real industry players and creators we get to ask questions by bringing in guests both online and in person. So we get to explore not just what's out there to become thriving. We ask a lot of questions like what are employees really looking for now? Or how can I build a global career for wherever I find myself? Is it too late to change direction? Choose the right career path when changing? Or what are the right connections? We go deep, we get and we bring truth. The vision is to prepare the youth, not just work, but for a life that makes sense. And just a show, it's actually a movement on the table. Hi, I'm Jacqueline Sarkodie. I'm your host. Welcome to Time Show, your room to ask, learn. You'd realize that in our schools, students studies for grades, for certificates, for titles, just to not really relevant. We are not trained to solve real world problems. And by the time you get back into the market, you realize that you're not. It starts with having the real and difficult conversation, skill set, purpose about the world of work and actually. And that's why we started the Science, which is a youth space where we bring industry into the classroom, explore fresh global careers. I mean, the future here than just this. We need to be adaptable. We need self-mastery, strategy, activity, access, the right exposure. So future is all about for change before it even comes. Exactly. The show is an open room where youth like you and I can talk to real industry players, men
Hello. Hello and welcome. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Times Talk Show, the first of many, the first of a lot more to come. As a brief introduction, this is a talk series dubbed as a talk show to gather young people to have constructive conversations towards preparing for the future. I dare to say that there is a declaration of a pandemic, call it a catastrophe, of unemployment or underemployment. Either ways, our youth are underutilized, potential dying, people depressed, lives getting lost in what doesn't seem to be clearly a problem to be named a pandemic. But I'm glad that this gathering has been made possible because a few young people decided to do something to help the conversation. Welcome to the Times Talk Show. My name is Jacqueline Sarkodie. We will start by introducing our panel, people who have had an impact in my personal life, and I'm glad to let them pour back into all of us. And first of all, I'll start from my dear colleague, Dufie. Dufie Boache, hello.
Hi, Jackie. I'm so happy to be here.
Thank you. I would introduce Oti.
Hi.
Hi. So Dufie works with GIZ, which is the German institution. Oti works with the World Bank Group. They would introduce themselves and run us through how they got there. Dufie, let me start from you.
Thank you very much, Jackie. Thank you for viewers online and for those of us in here as well. So my name is Dufie Boache. I'm a technical advisor working with GIZ Ghana. And then I've walked through the journey. I've worked in apparel production. I've worked in media. I've worked in catering, and many other things. So I'm happy to delve more into the journey and what I can share and what I can learn in this series as well. Thank you.
Thank you for blessing us with that. I'll come back to you. Oti, take us through.
Thank you. So my name is Enoch Otiajikum. I work with the World Bank, as you said. I'm a health economist. I've been in the World Bank for close to 6 years. But prior to that, I worked with JICA, Japan International Cooperation Agency. And before that, I worked with the Ghana Health Service, the research division, and I was specifically working at the Dodowa Health Research Center. So this is my sort of professional work. But prior to this, I had worked also in many other things. If I take out the ones I did for my mother, selling for her, which many people may have done, I have been a coconut seller. I have been a shoe shine boy. I have also sold yogurt on the street of Accra, to do specific. Also done a few other stuff. I also used to sell meat at Bayerman. It's a company, co-store company, alongside school. So those are the stuff I used to call side hustle, which maybe we'll get into that sort of conversation as we go on. So nice to be part of the first series to share some experience with Dufie and the young people whom we are pleased to interact every time.
Thank you very much, Enoch. So we would also want to hear from you, our audience. So we have an interactive survey. There will be a display of a QR code we want to also delve into your thoughts, what you have been through as an icebreaker. This is just to flatten the conversation from the beginning. Can I have the display? So please pick up your phones, your mobile phones, whatever version you're using. So first it has a camera and has internet connection, is good to go. Great, so can we all scan this QR code? Great. Can we display our first icebreaker? Wonderful. So, I want to know, what did you want to be when you were younger? A few seconds. Please type it in on your phones. What did you want to be when you were younger? For those who wanted to be many things, feel free to write them all. We have the QR code on again. We need to see the live feed. Let's go. Let's go to the next icebreaker. If you could go back in time, what is the one thing that you would want to do differently in your career or education journey? What would you do differently should you go back in time? I'm glad you are now remembering what you said you wanted to be. What would you want to do differently? Just one thing. Somebody's saying that they would put emotions aside and do the necessary. I need the person to explain. Another saying, oh, they wanted to be a marketing executive or a lawyer. Or you would rather want to be a marketing executive or a lawyer? Great. Then what are you doing now? I'm interested in that. one last, then we move on to the next. Oh, what did you want to be when you were younger? I'm seeing family doctor, lawyer, pediatrician. So doctor and lawyer all through. We'll come back to that. So what would you do differently? I'll put my reading method properly, plan it. Push myself to achieve more. That's good insight. Next question. Are you currently on that career path you imagined for yourself? Oh, 1 yes. 2 yeses. 3 not at all. No, it's complicated. Nobody falling in that. It's complicated. It's like you are there, you're not there. No. So there's more of those who are saying not at all than those who are saying yes. I'd love to hear from either end. Next question. How confident are you about where you want to go next in your career? Maybe as part of that question is, do you even know where you want to go next? And if you do, how confident are you about that? That's a low rating. I'm seeing a 3. A lot more engagement. Let me move on. So for those rating low, as compared to those rating high, is it a question of hope and losing hope? What is the confidence about? We'll delve into all that. Great. So next question. What's one career myth or misconception you believed when you were younger? Just one. Any misconceptions, any myth you knew about career? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Formal education is the only way. Is it? Is it not? There's more money in the IT sector. Is this person a disappointed IT professional? How did you know there wasn't more money in the IT sector? But that's all up for our thoughts. It's to trigger our imagination and our thoughts, to be introspective, and then we move on. It's a career path for intelligent people. If you are not, do not do it. That's for the formal education. Great. So the misconception that formal education meant you are smart, or you're smarter than your colleagues who didn't have formal education. Okay, enough for today. But I hope that this exercise gives us the chance to ask ourselves questions that go all the way back to when we were younger. When I was young, I wanted to be a journalist. I wanted to be a doctor as well. And occasionally I would say I want to be a pilot, just because not many people can fly in the air. Was there any backing for that? I believe no. As to how I came by those thoughts, I cannot explain, but we'll get into that as to why I didn't do any of that. So welcome to the Times Talk Show. All that we have done so far has been an introduction to help us think through our decision making, and then we have a discussion. This meeting has become important because there are lots of people going through life without direction. And we would agree that our career decisions, or what we stand for in our careers, form a major part of our identity, a major part of who we are, what we make out of life. It's tied to our careers. So why then are we choosing anyhow? Why then are we going to university for courses we cannot explain? Why are some now saying dropping out of school is the new thing because all the billionaires did it? So at a point, I feel the need to drop out. Why do we decide the way we do? Now, a number of people have blamed the education system. That in Ghana, in Africa, our education system is poor. We don't have the right structures. So we are blaming the education system. But who really is to blame? That's my first question to our panel. Is it the education system or the people? What accounts for the failure, permits me to say, of many careers?
Thank you, and I'll start and Dufie will come in. I think, of course, we cannot check out the education system, but it's, to me, a combination of the education system, but also the way we are brought up, because if you're working, there are some basic work ethics that you are not taught in school. These are things that you learn as you grow up with your parents, as your parents give you chores and you take them, as you interact in your community. These are skills you pick up that if you pick the right skills, when you have a little knowledge, you're able to combine the two. So you may have heard something like, or efie nyansa, and this is very important. That home sense, combined with what the education system gives you, is what makes you or forms you into a complete person who can then take up your career and move it to where you want it to be. So it's a combination of what you get from home and what you get from school.
Dufie, can you help me with this? If the education system has the capacity to complement home sense or other soft parts of our career building, do we have an able education system then? Can we say that the education system is not to blame? Is it potent on its own that we now stop blaming it?
Personally, I think the formal education system as we have it in Ghana is not as poor as people make it look, because if you look at our educational system, it's very rigorous from primary school up to JSS to the university level. And there are skills that formal education will give you that it is not metrics you are taking, so you might not realize. But for me, when I was in primary school, there was a big painting on the wall that says, to will and to act for thyself. And as a class 1, class 2 student, I'm like, what does it mean? But when I grew old, I realized that the school was playing a part, and I had to play my part. And you come into the job market, it's true, there are many things that you would learn on the job and not from school, but then the educational system has given you this avenue to be a creative thinker, to be analytical, to be able to put 1 + 1 to 2. And all these things, I think we can credit the education system for it. It's not perfect, let's be frank. There are many things that can improve the system, like making it more practical, making it more adaptable, because some of the things you learn are quite outdated. But I think we have to come to a point where now that we've gained the knowledge to co-teach, to co-adapt with academia, both at the primary level, secondary level, tertiary level, to say, okay, now that we're in industry, we've learned A, B, C, D, let's collaborate so that it is more adaptable and more, it's fine-tuned for the students even from the primary level.
Great. So that speaks that we have a shared role. We as individuals, we have a role to also play. I've heard both of you give me background of where you started from. It's in nowhere connected to where you are now. What role did you play? I'll start from UOT. What role did you play in ensuring that you could see through to the highest self and not necessarily just go through life anyhow?
I am one person who, even at a very tender age, had a lot of motivation and aspiration to be somebody. I didn't know what I wanted to become, but I always wanted to become someone. And I always told myself, if there were 10 people in a room, I want to be the first or among the first. And these were very, young. I can remember even class 2 thinking like this. And that kept me moving. And anytime I was making a choice, I would look at what is the best among the options. So I had my education in a rural, my village. And one time, I think I was in JSS 2, and we had some students from KNUST and Legon. They were from the Presby PMSU, that's a group in the university. So they came, and then they spoke with us, and they asked us where we want to be. In the next step after senior high. If you want to go to the training college, come here. If you want to go to Polytechnic, come here. Without trying to put any value on these institutions, I said I will go to the university. They asked me, where do you want to go? Somehow, the name KNUST was more, probably because I had, family members who were living in Kumasi. So I said, I'll go to Tech. And that was me. When I finished senior high, I also went to senior high even in my village. So when I finished, I was picked up as one of the less endowed. In KNUST, they had a program, less endowed schools. So Professor Andam, in blessed memory, will pick from the rural schools. So I was one of the people who were picked. We were two guys. So we went for an interview in Koforidua, and they said, oh, unfortunately, even though our grades were very good, the school wasn't doing the right combination of courses. Because I did agriculture, and the combinations were they were doing horticulture, animal science, without physics and elective math. And you cannot go to KNUST without physics or elective math. So I needed elective math, physics, or biology to add. Then my friend's dad, who was a teacher, quickly went to Koforidua Polytechnic, showed our results, and they said, oh, these are good results, they can come here. And I said, no, that's not where I want to go. I decided to go to the uni, and that's where I'll go. So I would rather go back and rewrite my papers so that I can go to the university. All along, it came out as a bragging right for me. This man got so upset with me, actually, even went to report me to my father, that you, this boy, gone to this school, you are even lucky to get admission to Poly. He said you won't go. So I went back, took 1 year, I came to Accra, decided to write all the courses, so I came to do science. And within 1 year, I got an A in elective math, I got all A's in the core subject, so I went to the uni on my own merit without having to come under the program, right? My friend, also without trying to put any value on any institution, when I was doing my master's, he had then finished Poly, done some work, and now coming for top-up. So he told me he shouldn't have listened to his dad, but he had no option because, Unfortunately for me, my father wasn't a teacher, so he didn't even know what was going on. So I was determined the pace, right? So I think just aim for something, because without aiming for it, you will not achieve it. That is something I have come to realize in my life, that aim for it, and when you are aiming, try to hit the highest. Dream big. When you fall, you may still settle in between. But if you are not motivated, then it's even difficult for someone to push you forward. So to me, even though I haven't had the best of like elite school system, I thought that my motivation was driving me along. I would join classes in other schools when I hear there's a good teacher there. So I was trying to push myself every corner to really get what I wanted in life. And I think, to me, that is what has made a difference in my life.
I'm intrigued because you have mentioned a lot of factors that I see a lot of young people complain about. So, for example, I don't have the right exposure. I come from a place where I'm limited. That's why we complain about the Ghanaian educational system, because we compare it to the Western world and think that they have better structures. But you have explained to us right now that you came from a rural setting, but could still tell yourself you want the best. I hope that we are able to see through and understand the point that nothing is a barrier but yourself. Up until you decide not to push through or to even visualize what the higher self means, that's when you're limited. And you also mentioned that you made some choices randomly. For example, you just chose tech because it was the first that came to your mind. Meaning it's okay to not have a plan. Your plan could be you want the best of whatever options you have. Because I get lots of complaints. I hear lots of people say, I don't have any options. But you ask them, what is in your hand? Is it that we don't assess right the opportunities that we have, or we don't assess our potential? What is it? Why are we not able to have a visual of our highest self or what the best could be? Why can't we see the...
Thank you very much, Jackie. So that's an interesting question, but I'll also share a bit of my background, just as Oti did. So for me, I was raised by parents who lived in Germany for a long time, so they came with killer work ethic. You have to be on time, and you have to work for long hours. So that was my father and my mother, to the extent that if I was late for church, I don't get to eat at home. It was that crazy. So when I was younger, I told my parents that I wanted to be an air hostess. And people are like, please be realistic. No air hostess is big. Air hostess is slim. So I was very disappointed. I'm like, what am I going to do then? But then I think I came to realization that no matter what I do in my life, I have to matter. And secondly, I want to do it to the greater good of the society. Maybe because I really was drawn to philanthropic work, but naturally I wanted to do something that was beneficial to a brother or a sister. So here I was after senior high school. Unfortunately, I was unwell for about 3 years in high school. So I come out of high school and I had to wait a year before I go to university. So I found a radio station then in Kumasi called Capital Radio. I would go there, recite poems on a Saturday evening entertainment show. So one time I get there and a man approaches me. Very simple man in some big t-shirt. And I thought he was a security man, to be honest. And he said, oh, what are you up to here? And I'm like, oh, Nelson Mandela just died and I have a poem I'm about to recite. And he's like, okay, tell me about it. So we are interacting, but in my mind, he's a security man, okay? So he's like, so what are you doing now? And I said, oh, I just finished school, but I'm recuperating. So once I get back, I'll go to school next year. Then he says, but would you like to work? I said, yes, but in my mind, I'm like, but you're not going to offer me the job, right? Because, come on now. So I'm like, yes, I would like to work because I'm interested. So he's like, okay, fine. Come and see me on Monday. So when he said Monday, I'm like, what do you mean? So he leaves the room. And one of the guys comes to me and said, that's the general manager. I had no idea. And that's how I got my first paid job at the age of 18. I went to see him on Monday. He's like, would you like to be a front desk executive? I said, yes. I don't know what the front executives do, but I want to be able to experiment because I know that I can be of use. And my parents also motivated me to say that, take this like an apprenticeship. Learn all that you can learn from the environment. So I started that job actually with an arm crutch. I was using crutches at the time. Would always go to Kumasi, go there, so enthusiastic, talk to everybody I can, the guests on the radio shows and everything. But I was preparing my mind because I knew that whatever I want to do, that should be for the benefit of others. I think that sometimes you wouldn't always have the plan laid out. Sometimes you don't have the wherewithal to do a plan. No, you have to taste many waters sometimes. In life I've come to see that it's an amalgamation of many factors. Sometimes it's good to have a plan, sometimes you wouldn't have a plan. But if you don't, that shouldn't limit you. Be able to walk to any room, be able to talk to any person and say, I'm willing to do this for free, I just want to learn. And in that way you would progress further.
Would you want to add to that, Oti?
Dufia makes a brilliant point. I mean, even as I sit here, if you ask me my next plan, I won't be able to tell you anything. So it's okay not to have a plan, but as both of us said, always aim to give your best. Because unfortunately, in this part of our world, it's even difficult to plan. Let's say you went to school to do chemistry, thinking that when you come, you're going to be a chemist. You don't find a job. What do? Do you wait for a chemist job to be created before you work? You turn yourself into a teacher or something. You switch to see where you can fit, and when you get it, you put your best, and then you learn, and then you change. I did agriculture. Of course, I did agriculture economics, but I ended up in the health sector. All you need is a motivated mind, willing to learn and adapt. And so for me, it's okay. In our environment, even having too much plans makes you frustrated, because then your expectations are that I want to move from A to B, but life is always not like that. So of course, you have to know what you're about, but I mean, we shouldn't overestimate planning for our future.
And that's the beauty of this conversation, because we are for the future of work. Doesn't mean we want to prescribe a future. Our answer is an outright no. You figure it out as you go. But having a mindset that doesn't factor that in, that's another problem. So I realize some students, some young people from this side of the world will go to school and have a specific job role description in their mind. What is the issue with that? Having a very defined role that's what you want to be, considering that the world is fast changing. Are there any pros? Are there any cons?
Well, I will say that if one decides to have a very definite end goal and decides to defy all the odds to attain that goal, it's quite commendable, to be honest. But what will give you a different layer of mastery, I would say, is the exposure to many other things. It will give you mastery. Because let's give an example. Let's say if somebody goes to medical school, I want to be a doctor, nothing else. Goes to medical school, they finish medical school, and now they are posted to maybe a rural area and to a place where there's no water, there's no electricity. Maybe being a doctor may help, but if they have an experience of maybe selling with their parents or visiting, being part of church activities, doing outreach, they have that human element. And that will differentiate that person from somebody who just, in their rich home, I'm a doctor and I'm doing well. I think that you have to diversify your vision to know that yes, all the things that you experience in life, personally and professionally, will give a level of mastery. So it's good to set one goal and work towards it. But then, as she said, the world that we live in now doesn't favor that. Some time ago, I worked for a children publication. I was a writer, and when they gave me my contract, it says I was going to be admin, business development manager, literally every role. Then I said, but this is not what we discussed. She said, in this company, you are going to be everything. You can text everything. Is it always beneficial? No, not really. But at least the world that we live in, you cannot be a master of just one. You have to be able to adapt. Adaptability have zero knowledge. In my job that I do, I meet professors talking about academia and pedagogy, and I can't look clueless. I have to look like, okay, I don't know it, but I have an idea based on what I've experienced, and I can chip in.
And you made a very brilliant point about exposure. Both of you started young. I had 17, I had 18. But I remember myself from 17 and 18. I believe I did an internship, I believe, in a law firm. At the time, I wanted to go deep into practice, but I had no clue. I had no background, parents, family who could, guide my steps. But then you show up at an internship for a month and you just have an office and do nothing. And the point is, did I even understand what training meant at the stage? Because you had a chance to be on the job of something that you had no clue about. You didn't ask for it. It was handed over to you. So starting young, starting early, what level of exposure can we start to acquire from that age?
So I think there are a lot of skills that are transferable. And I mentioned this in my opener. So just communication is transferable. Every work you do, you need to be able to communicate effectively, whether a doctor, lawyer, nurse, economist, whatever. Interpersonal relationship is transferable. And in fact, these are the core of your work life. At some point, whatever you learned at school diminish to some point because everybody becomes intelligent, and the difference is the behaviors, the character, and all that. And so, as a young person, you should have it at the back of your mind that you may be doing something in the future that requires you to effectively communicate with people, be able to have a very good interpersonal relationship with people, be someone who can set a target and complete it. So these are things that, these are the elements you want to learn, but some opportunities may come in different ways. It could even be that you are put in a library here as whatever, assistant or an intern. What can you learn? People come in here. How are you taking that opportunity to sharpen your interrelational skills, your communication skills? It may not be anything described for you, but as you are here, you interact with people and you gain that skills. When you start working, it may come in handy. You may not realize how important that has become in your work life. You are put, here in the library, you come in here, things are a bit messy. You look at it, I can arrange the books in this way. This is how you think out of your description. And these are the things we do at work. You sit, you think, and you do it. So we shouldn't be looking for like an official opinion as the experience we want. Of course, when you're applying for a job, they'll say 10 years experience, 5 years experience, and what they mean is experience. But when you finally get a job, the experience that they actually need from you are these things that you pick from the environment, wherever small opportunity you would have. I have, when I was a shoe shine boy, I used to go on trek. I was young, but I was a bit daring, so I would even go from town to town. And there were people I would go and shine their shoes for them, and I talked to them. I remember there was one Mr. Oti who used to work in NCC district office in New Ebrim. So I was always going to shine his shoe because he is my namesake. And then I'll ask him about his job. So as an officer, what do you do? And then he will explain, okay, so if I want to become like you, what do I do? And then he will explain things. I go to places, I meet people, I ask them questions. So what do you do in your work? If I want to become like you, what should I do? And this were, I was just, playing around. I didn't even know what I was doing, right? But these were things I picked from the environment that later gave me some exposure. So I'm not shy talking to people. I can bang into your office. When I was in the uni, I can come to my professor's office with or without invite. A lot of people thought I was a son of a professor because you usually see me in the lecturers' offices interacting with them, asking them opportunities. And these are things you pick. You don't need to get a letter of employment before you start learning some of these things. You can learn them from your environment, every small opportunity, but have them in your mind, at the back of your mind, that you need to sharpen your interrelational skills. You need to be able to take decisions and implement them. You need to be able to follow through tasks. These are things you need. And so every opportunity, try to see yourself running yourself through this and acquiring these small, skills. And once you get a job, you'll be a different person. Let me share one experience. I was doing my national service on campus. So we're all picked in the dean's office. And then I realized that the transcripts were paper-based for so many years back. And so when people want to have their transcript, they have to go and pull several files, look through, then somebody will come and type it. So I suggested to the dean, why don't we scan all these files and catalog them? So at least we've eliminated one problem, and you can even throw them away at some time and free the space, because space was also a problem. So we started. I got some 3 service personnel with me. We started scanning them and cataloging them with the year and the student name. So when you go and type in, it just pulls up. We started doing a database. Then the registrar for the faculty left. And I went to the dean. I was like, I can play the role of a registrar. And then, just like he smiled, he also did smile. And then he said, okay, come. And I went to take the registrar's office, a very big office. And I started working fine. And then it was going and going, and he keeps on increasing my job to the extent that he even gave me a very critical role of admission. So I was doing admission for mature students, entering their details, doing selection, and I would profile them and send it to him to sign and all that. And I then had a service personnel for myself. I was a service personnel, but I had a service personnel. All because, when I see, and I'm not shy to ask for it, and if you give me, there is some level of excitement in me because I want to do it and finish it, and then more was coming. So I got so much exposure on campus as a service personnel. So many people didn't even know I was a service personnel. People were calling me registrar, administrator. Some people thought I was even a young lecturer and all that. All because of the way I carried myself. But these were skills I had picked from all the little things I've mentioned, doing a shoe shine boy, selling coconuts, doing this and doing that. Those were the places I picked the skills. And when I got the opportunity, I put them on. And then there I was, seen as somebody who may have had very good training. But no, I was just a shoe shine boy, coconut seller, all that. So again, to conclude, you don't need to start with a formal anything. Just look around you. There are so many opportunities for you to pick skills. Even in your own home, how you have parents, you have sisters, kids, even trying to make sure, just take something for yourself. Okay, I want to pick my sister's son and teach him his homework every time. That's my job. I'll make sure that anytime he comes from school, I'll see if he has homework and I'll help him finish it. Do this. It's a skill that most of your friends will not have. To be able to identify a problem, approach it, handle it, solve it. So these are things that we should begin to pick at a very young age. And then promise you, when you get the opportunity, you'll be a shining star.
Awesome. So we've had lots of skills here, skills, and that word skills is running in the room. But I find it to be very impactful because we see skills as the trajectory of where we want to go to. So if we want to, say, become a doctor, we see skills as learning to become a doctor. If I want to become a filmmaker, the skills we know would be skills to operate a camera. But then I'm hearing a lot of things that are just so close to us, as close as just in your home, even to your family, your parents, your siblings. Do we believe that this is a general appreciation of the youth from this part of the world? Do we value these skills? And do we see them as skills necessary for the opportunities that are coming up? Because there are lots of emerging trends in various industries. Are we able to align these skills with opportunities coming?
So I would say that in building skills, especially for a young person, you should start from a point of being serviceable in whichever environment you find yourself, being at church, being at the mosque, being at school, wherever, be of service. And once you be of service, skills are actually things that you don't, if you pick a book and it's full of skills, trust me, you'll forget everything by the time the book is done. But skills is something you do repeated, like what Aristotle says about excellence. It's a repeated action. That's what will build a skill. I think skills have been said so many things. It sounds scary sometimes. Do I have the skills? Nobody has it at their fingertip. But doing something repeatedly, being of service, trying to do the little things with a bit more enthusiasm and a bit more edge to do it excellently is also building the skills. As she said, like the filmmakers here, they've built the skill of handling the equipment and all that, but they have extra skills of being more friendly with the guests and say, sit this way, talk this way. These things you're not being taught in the classroom, but they realize that will make their work better, the outcome better. And one thing I also realized that young people are sometimes afraid. And somebody will say, oh, T and Duffy, you're lucky. You started years ago. Maybe there were more opportunities then. No, they were not. It's just a conscious effort that we all made, and I think you can make too. Sometimes people also think you have a particular gene or personality trait that makes you more endearing to do A, B, C, D. No. It's just I realize that nothing will be handed over to us. So we have to, create our own path in the world. So I would say that for acquiring skills, first and foremost, of course, aside you exploring, researching, reading. Reading is something I read a lot and I encourage people to do so. But be of service in the least capacity, be of service, and that's how you begin to grow. Even at the workplace, sometimes study other people, study other colleagues, from the bottom to the top. Study the security man, study the boss, study the cleaner, study the caterer. They all bring together a wealth of skills that if you're able to pick one skill each from all these personalities, you will be different. Because there's something a security man does, he's very quick to open the gates. I was telling my friend the last time that one of the people that I respect the most in my life are church mates. Do you realize how many skills they have? They can onboard a full car and remember just where everybody got on and where you are light and how much change they need to give you. Do you know how good your math skills have to be to not give people more money than they have to get? And at the same time, they don't forget to say, okay, now we are circles, so get down, let somebody go into Kanishi on board. so many skills at once. And I look at them and I'm like, wow, if they can be that quick and at that, why can't I be? So I learn from every environment. When I'm in the church or when I'm at church, I look at my preacher, the way he's preaching with confidence. He wasn't taught. It's something that he learned along the way. So I try to be of service. I just look keenly at people, and that's how I build my skills. And I'm still building skills that will help me adapt in this new age.
I'd love to hear from the audience, both online and in person. Do you believe that we, the youth, we are preparing well for our careers? I want to hear from someone. Can we please pass the microphone? You can put in the chat. Do we believe that we are preparing well for our careers and for the future of work?
Wonderful. Thank you all so much. Most especially to the guests. You guys have shared a lot, and I've learned a lot too, just sitting here. First of all, I'm not a fan of the so-called education system here. So let me first of all throw some batch at that. The education system here is basically a schooling system, and we actually, because we have some people that have actually made something for themselves and stuff like that, so we look at those people and say, hey, these people are doing stuff and stuff like that, so the people that didn't do it, they didn't do well, stuff like that. And this is kind of where I have a lot of challenge, in the sense that we forget about the millions of people, the billions of people that we are failing every single day. So the question comes that are our youth being prepared, for the career and all that? And I kind of look at it from this way, that our big problem even starts from thinking about a career. We should think about purpose. And that's one particular thing that we lose. And that's why everyone is thinking about, oh, what do I want to be in future? And that place alone, we already failed. Because it shouldn't be, what job do I want to fit in future? It should be, what do I want to be? To truly be, that sense of purpose. And it shouldn't be, what do I want to be, in place of, okay, air hostess. And when you said air hostess, I laugh, because that's the same thing my daughter is saying. And that was why I took her out of school. Yes, I just took my daughter out of school because I feel like, see, I can't put her in the same setting that is making us, or turning us to a generation of workers instead of a generation of thinkers. I need to be able to do something different, and I need to put in the work. As a parent, we need to start to stop ourselves and be the last piece of people that would raise another level of mediocres, that can see beyond a particular job. We are in a world where people are creating jobs. Why are we kind of like trying to fit our children into jobs and stuff like that? So I think there are 4 ways at which we are failing. I call it PIF. First of all is the P, which is purpose. We need to change the mindset of our young ones from the place of like, I want to fit into a particular job that will make me money, to the place of like, I want to achieve this kind of purpose, like something bigger than you. I call it the definite chief aim. So what do you want to do that is bigger than you, that you can carry others into? A life you can build that other people will find life in. Now, today we have like things like Facebook and stuff like that. These are people building a life that other people are finding life within. And that is something, it wasn't a job before, now it has created thousands of jobs. Why can't we have people within Africa creating that? And that is because people are looking to fit into a job, workers' mindset, instead of thinking of what can I do that would become global. So purpose, we need to shift to that. The E is what she has spoken about, which is exposure. There is no way you can give children the opportunity to actually soar without giving them exposure. And that's something that I feel like both speakers had. In one way or the other, they had it in totally different space. The first speaker because she had parents that have been exposed in one way or the other, are able to like pass that to her and are able to push her in a different way that gave her that exposure enough to be able to be confident, go outside and say, okay, yes. Because exposure, that's what it does to you. It gives you like some kind of like sense of like experience, some kind of like, okay, no, this person will not kill me if I speak out. You know, exposure gives you, just travel alone does a lot for a lot of people. And then who are the people that you're exposing them to? And these are the things that I think that matters so much that we don't value so much. So we need to give our kids that exposure. The other thing is effort. We are in a community that doesn't value effort. We value results than effort. So until when the guy makes money, then everybody says, oh, he has made so much money and stuff like that. But the guy that is putting in effort every single day and trying to make something, no one is actually even looking at the person. And today we say that we have a lot of scammers. Of course, you will have a lot of scammers because you don't care about the process. You only care about the result. We need to build a culture that values effort. And that was what we had before the whole civilization, so-called civilization came in. Because those days, when you come home with a lot of money, parents would ask you that, hey, where did you get it from? How did it happen? And stuff like that. Right now, nobody cares. The moment you drive your Maserati in, they're like, hey, he has made it, he has made it. No one wants to talk about the process any longer. And the process are the things that we really glorify. Every single person we admire today, check the reason why you admire them. It's not just because of the money that they have right now. It's because of their story. Even some of the wealthy people right now are telling us lies of their, grass to grace kind of stories. And we end up getting to know because the internet does not forget. And then the last thing is failure. I think we need to change our definition of failure. Really, we really need to change our definition of failure. I think when our definition of failure changes, a lot of things change because we need to understand that every single failure is what made all of the successful people we call successful today who they are. Let's see every failure as a lesson, as an opportunity to take, to move forward. Don't demonize failure. When people fall, let us give them opportunity to rise again. Let's give people chances. We have systems that the moment you fail one time, you are done with. And then we say, oh, how did Jeff Bezos become Jeff Bezos? This guy had people that invested in him for 7 years or more. The company was losing money, and people kept putting in money into it. How many companies in Africa can brag of something like that? And today we say that, oh, our people cannot do this. We need to change our mindset on things. We need to change our mindset on the whole education system itself and understand that education is not just putting children in classroom. Education is you and I. What are we doing every day for those people around us? How can we be able to learn from each other? And I love that you said something. I can't remember your name. so you said something about the person you would go to and talk to and speak with. And I'm like, yes, that's education itself. That thing outside classroom that we don't value is the true education. Those things inside the classroom and you are paying school fees is schooling. So let's change that. Thank you.
So what I'm hearing is that our education system is a complete failure. So I want to hear from someone else because we see lots of young people experiencing shocks of what they thought it was and what they are finding it to be. Is it because the schooling system, as you have termed it, is psyching us in a particular way to visualize the outcome as specific? Is that where the challenge is? Because we want to delve deep to understand what the problem is, if it's from the system or it's from the persons. Because if some people have been able to identify by themselves to say, I have no clue, I don't know where it will lead me to, but I'm still going to give it my best. Who is to blame? That was my earlier question. So maybe I should let the audience say something.
Okay. Hello. Okay. Thank you very much. So, getting towards the question, who is to blame? Some may differ with my opinion, but personally, I believe the individual is to blame. Yes, there is a gap in the educational process, right? And when you carefully look at it, it's what we call school to work transition. I don't want to go or delve deeper. Somewhere last month, Forbes released an article, and it states that a lot of young individuals who were recruited in the organization in less than 3 months were all sacked. Most sacked. And when you look at the age, they were the Gen Zs. Reason is because not that they were not qualified, but the application of certain skill, industry-specific skill, for them to be competent was lacking. So I believe that, yes, education can play its own part to nurture, to groom us, and think in a particular way. But however, it bestows on the individual to see how he can navigate his own career path and to know exactly where he's relevant, which is something I personally have identified is a major problem, especially for we young individuals. So, and that's why we hear this term called upskilling. Upskilling is very, very relevant now. It cuts across for those who are young graduates and those who are entering the earlier career professionals, and even for mid-level managers. It's a continuous process. So it is an individual problem. We should, the blame game of making it an educational system, yeah, we agree. The educational process has a long way to go, but we as individuals could identify and say, okay, these are the challenges, these are the issues surrounding the educational problem. What can be done? What are they, where are the alternatives? That's why we have what we call personal capacity development and personal growth. We don't need to go to a special institution. You can learn even from the comforts of your own to improve yourself. I think I rest my case.
Would you want to say something, Oti?
Okay, so I will say that the educational system has a major part to play because the kids nowadays spend most of their time in school as compared to being in the house. And when you take the school curriculum, it's very packed. And even now, they are taking the extra curriculum activities out. That's the best I know. They are taking it out. So my child will come and tell me, I have PE. I ask, what activity did you do in PE? Nothing. So, although we all agree that the child has a part to play, the curriculum in the schools also has to be checked. Thank you.
I would say that, sorry, the reason why most of us are blaming the educational system, as my sister said, is because most of our age, we spend it in school. And we have this mentality that when you go to school, you get all the skills, all the knowledge that you need in life, forgetting that education actually starts at home. We need to know that most of the things that we said here, it looks like the school is just for knowledge. The rest is for us to teach at home. The skills, everything. As my brother said, that you come here in the library, you are sitting here, you see how the books are arranged, and you think, no, I have to arrange it like that. School will not teach you that. You have to know that, oh, as I'm sitting here, there's something wrong. And this, I think he probably got it from home. I don't think you can just come and sit here and think that, oh, these books are arranged in a certain way, and I think I can turn it like this. I think you had the experience at home, so you have been motivated or encouraged that when you go somewhere, you can at least think fast and act fast, something that education cannot give it to you. So in as much as we want to blame education, we just have to know that from today, let's just know that education is just for knowledge. The rest, we have to help them in the house. Thank you.
I see a hand up there.
All right, thank you very much. Let me drop the camera for now. So I believe education is not wrong, whether formal or informal education. It's not wrong. But for us here in Africa, we've missed the definition of education. Now, over the years, people develop curriculum based on the problems that are unique to them. And we here in Africa, we brag about sending our children to British International School, American International School. In Africa, where the curriculum is based on the British unique problem or the American unique problem, then how do you expect a child to thrive in Africa with a curriculum? You've taught that child with a curriculum that is not unique to his own physical environment. How do you expect a child to even innovate? You don't. The first alphabet in the English, when we are learning ABCD, is A, right? A is for what? How many apples do we have in Africa? Why is A not for Akara or B for Banku? Do you get? So we first of all, the very beginning of education have been watered down, have been diluted. So you see so many graduates. Yet look at us in Africa. Every year you see people eloping like is it eloping? You see people running out of Africa, trying to jackpot in Nigeria. We call it jackpot. People are trying to, and it's brain drain. Now you see these same people who are not doing well in Africa, they are doing a whole lot. You know why? Because they are in an environment that they are familiar with. Not because they grow up in those environments, but because they have been schooled with the curriculum that is relevant in where they are right now. So we need to reanalyze and reassess what education means to us. And see, we didn't go to school just to emulate. Right? The essence of education is to now know, okay, there is a problem. How do we solve it? You see, opportunities is a problem disguised as they are a problem in disguise. Do you get? How can we run away from Africa saying there are no opportunities here and there are a lot of problems? Your inability to identify those problems is a problem itself. Do you get? So opportunities are a problem in disguise. So when we start reassessing start taking advantage rather of our problems, we begin to evolve. I'm telling you one thing. We look towards civilization as an emulation of Europe or America. Africa is unique. So we need to start looking for our uniqueness. We've gone to school, we now know. Why don't we bring the knowledge we have and make it indigenous? Do you get? So our ability to define what should be contained in our curriculum, we have a lot of, look at, in Africa, they are exporting soy. You go to Instagram, go to YouTube, you see Chinese people exporting our clay soy. But we don't even know what they are exporting it to do with. You get? We don't even know what they are exporting, they export literally everything, but because we don't know. Now, the same Africa where we say there are no opportunities, we have a lot of expatriates coming into Africa every day. So the Chinese people teach their kids the geography of Africa, teach their kids the mineral resources in Africa, yet we would brag about teaching our own children glacial movement or ice frosting and all of those things. You get? So the moment we start reanalyzing what education means to us and knowing that education is not about importing curriculums, it's about creating curriculums based off problems that are unique to us. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you for that fire.
Let me twist the conversation a bit, right? So I'm hearing us blame the education system and a bit of ourselves. But have we thought about the role that industry also plays? The school system is not necessarily aligned. This will tell you 4 years working experience and you're just a graduate. So what responsibility does industry also have, our employers, our companies, to ensure that collectively we all take the blame
Yeah.
and work at it? Let's go.
Thank you very much. The discussion is charged and I like it very much. But before we come to the industry bit, I think that the contributions in the room show that we all know what the problems are, but now it's the time to rise above it. Yes. The role of industry, this thing is actually a very deep-seated situation. Last year, my line of work, we had an opportunity to meet with academia and industry in one room and see where can we find the common ground. And trust me, it was a tug of war for the 3 days. Because academia, in the sense of the formal education, as we say, they have their stance that they expose students to the broader academic spectrum to make you be able to fit in any place that you find yourself. And industry also says that no, the people come to us with no knowledge, no practice, they have zero skills, we can't work with that. And so it became very difficult. So the two parties were not aligning. But in actual fact, what industry can do is to definitely, there has to be a partnership, what people call the industry academic partnership, where students are exposed to practice and what the industry needs from the word get-go. If you want to be, say, a nurse, there's no reason why you should not be able to volunteer in a public hospital in some small capacities. Whilst you are there, you would see the needs of patients, even though you're not a nurse. You see the needs of patients, you see the needs of even the personnel, you can able to build some skills. So yeah, it's a difficult conversation and we have to move it forward, but industry has to partner with academia as part of the educational journey, so that by the time you come to the end of the spectrum, you already have the skills that the industry needs. Yeah.
Great. So, Oti, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. How training becomes a part of, it becomes a shared responsibility. Because now it feels as if the training bit is only put on the individual job seeking or seeking a career path. There's currently a question online that says, how do I even know my career path? But we will come to that. But how do we understand whose responsibility it is for training to happen and to happen right?
Thank you. And just to also reflect on the feedback from the stands, which were very rich, and I was very excited to. I've learned a lot from the submissions that you guys made. I think that the school system, our home system, the job environment, church, mosque, as Dufie said, these are places that offer some opportunities. And one has to then be able to identify the opportunities that these systems give, and then you take advantage of it. Of course, there are problems with the curriculum and all, and we have different curriculum across the world. I mean, my son was using the British system. I changed his school to the German school, and it was totally different. When he was in the British system, he was learning like crazy, coming with homework. He goes to the German school, and they say that until class 5, no homework. They are just playing. And I'm like, am I paying all this money for playing? You know? So even in the Western part, it's not the same. But the core is not really about the differences in the curriculum. It's about what we've been talking about, skill sets. And it even delves into this question that you've asked. Now you hear that industry people are saying, the people you are bringing us are not fit for purpose. If you go deeper into it, usually they are not technical skills. It's not that the graduate from KNUST electrical engineering doesn't know how the technical part, they know it. You delve in and you'd realize that it's because these people come and they are not quick enough to learn and adapt. I also read the article that my brother referred to And then you interrogate this, and it's usually not really like what we call the technical. It's not because the camera guy doesn't know where to click to take the picture, but it's that when he takes the picture, instead of sitting down to edit it, he'll leave it there and then fail the client, right? And so he goes out of job. So these things that we are talking about, this little behavioral stuff, relational skills, ability to sit down and work things from beginning to end, these are things that come across, whether you want to do your own business, whether you want to work for someone, these are things that you need. These are things that you need to transition from one point to the other. If you were trained a lawyer and you want to transition to become a doctor, these are the things you need. Ability to learn new things, ability to adapt. If you don't have that, they will tell you you went to study law. Why do you want to be a doctor? Meanwhile, if you had that skills and you were able to practice it, you would find yourself a lawyer doing something so different from what you studied. So to me, it all comes back to the attitudinal issues, those soft skills that you need to have. Otherwise, this fight between industry and education will continue to be there, because the young person is flipping instead of reading. They are sharing videos, flipping, so within the day, nothing is really going in there. He or she is not taking a book from page to the end, reading from beginning to the end. Go around and ask them how many people have been able to take a book and read from first page to last page. It's not just about you reading. It's about you taking something, a task, and finishing it. These are things that you need, but we are not doing them. Thankfully, there's an opportunity, a bigger than what we had, right? As Dufie said, we had our time. I remember those days when I was going for my work, either Shushan or being going to Sell Your God. I'll have a book with me, and I have a picture of myself, like walking somewhere and having a book on my pocket or reading. And a lot of things I know in my life, I pick them from books. An American friend gave me a particular book, which I read, and it was so impactful. It was like about life, just things about life. The things you don't need to worry about in your life because you can't change them. The things that you have to wait. Even though you don't want it, you don't have the capacity to change. So now put it on hold. When you have the capacity, change it if it makes you feel better, right? I pick all of these things just from reading. Even if I went to school in Germany or UK or in Ghana here, they won't tell you this. But once you pick books and you read, some things come to you naturally. Okay, so let's not, make the problem too complex. Let's simplify them a bit, and let's know that in our life, even put career aside, even in our family lives, we need certain skills to succeed. We need to be able to pick things, follow through. When we promise, we deliver. When we have a task, we sacrifice a bit to finish it. We need to develop our communication skills. We need to develop our relational skills. We need to know how to speak. These things are the things we need. Even sportsmen, I watch tennis a lot, and when people are playing, you see beyond the scale of kicking the ball with the racket, you see attitudes. You see people who lose the ball and they lose it. You see people who are not focused, right? So they lose 1-2 and they lose focus. And when we go to the World Cup and things, that's what happens to us, right? A little thing, we lose focus. These are things we need to do whatever we want to do, things we need to transition from education to work, things that we need to switch job from one job to the other. It's just that for me. That's how simple I see this. Of course, industry needs to be more open. They need to give opportunities to young people. And these are people with bright minds. And that's why I love talking to young people. There's a young man in my house. A week ago, he came up with something about solving some transport problems. And I was like, where did he get this from? I mean, the mistakes. And be mindful that these people need some transition period, right? In the US and other places, when you are hired, it doesn't matter how good you are. You still need to be trained somehow. I moved to the World Bank from another international organization, but I still had to go through some form of orientation to get myself in somehow. So these are things that industry need to be mindful. It's not all about the profit. It's a community we are building. If you spend a little time on that young person, you may get a better value from him or her. And that's something industry need to do better with. But it's also on you as an individual.
Yes. And now that the individuals are trying to take initiative, to take responsibility, the question online is, how do we know our career paths?
That's an interesting question. I don't know my career path. I'm being plain honest. But what I do know is that every job that I have taken, whether it was bringing in money or no money, I have expressed a level of dedication that is uncommon. And that's why I say that, people now think career is an attainment. No, it's a way of life. Your career becomes a part and parcel of your life. If you graduate school at 23 and you are fortunate enough to live till 70, you are literally going to work for all those years. And so if you only establish in your mind it's an attainment, you would get an attainment and hit a plateau and you'll no longer be interested. And what are you going to do with it? I think that the panel, the people in the room have said it a lot. To be able to build a career, don't limit yourself to one thing. Well, let's say you find yourself in, even you're a trader, you always have to envision yourself adding more value to what you do. You are selling to people, you are being of good customer service, but how can I improve this service? That is building upon a trajectory. But be of service, be of dedication. In my workplace, I would always want to leave at a certain time. And my colleagues would be like, why do you want to stay here? The company stuff for your father and stuff like that. But that, I believe, sets me apart, because when you go to the job market, you would find people that are way smarter, way more skillful. And sometimes you should ask yourself, we're all investing in the same room, we're all at the same thing. Why is this person better than I am? What is the reason? Apart from maybe they, of course, as Basi said, upskilling. It's because some people show a level of dedication to the work that some people don't. And because of that dedication, you will be different. And that is the way that you begin to also determine what you want and what you do not want. So don't beat yourself up about not knowing what your career path is. Wherever you find yourself in this present day, try and be the absolute best. It doesn't always mean that you always complete every task with excellence, whatever, but just try to be the absolute best. And with that, the doors begin to open. Because sometimes what you thought you could be 5 years ago, you don't want to be now. Yes, and it's not always about even money, but you look at it, it doesn't come with any fulfillment. Michelle Obama is a classic case. After she went through Ivy League education to be a lawyer, she says she sits in Chicago and she felt so empty. Like, I was just taking a box. I just felt like, from Southside Chicago, I should come into law and be a lawyer, and then I'll be fulfilled. Of course, she had a good car. She met a nice man, but it wasn't enough. So then she left the legal work to go and do more of a youth mentoring kind of job. So don't be too fixated as an attainment, but see as a way of life. And in that way, whatever you are doing, be it an attendant, be it an officer, whatever you are, you'll be able to upskill better.
I'm interested in this part of the conversation, because one thing you realize is, who do you even talk to? how to even open your mind, the conversations you're allowing. We are setting up this space to encourage holistic conversations that would move us forward. But the question then is, who do we even talk to? What role does mentorship play in? I have had the benefits of having both formal and informal mentors. I learn from people from afar. I would watch you, observe what you do, and want to pick the best for myself. I've had people I've talked to directly, and I mentioned that Uti has been one person in my life as that. But then the question then becomes, who do you talk to? What role does mentorship play in all these confusions? How do I get to know this? What path do I take? Direction, guidance. Who do we talk to?
Yeah, thank you. I think this is very important. I mean, to get direction, it's crucial. And just a little bit about the career path, then I'll come on the mentoring. So this is the way I see it. Every school you go, every work you do is some form of savings. So the school you go, you are making certain savings towards the career. The work you do, all the little things we've said in the past, they are savings. So you'd realize that at some point, you have certain skill set, right? Maybe you are good with gadgets now. You feel that I'm very good with gadgets. When I pick something, I can easily fidget it and make something out of it. So this is something you would have, it's sort of the investment you've made from whatever environment you went, from whatever school. So this is what is then beginning to form your career path, right? And these are things that you do with comfort. Then you realize that I can do this. Then the next step is, how do I make consistent effort to accumulate more expertise in this field? So I'm one person who moves a lot. I was in the government sector, and I left to international, and even within international, I changed. Now as I sit here, if I wake up tomorrow, I can decide to change again, and I don't mind changing. But I also believe some level of consistency along your career path, so that today when I want to write my CV, I can say that I have 15 years of experience in this. And then when you give me the job, it will come easily because these are things I've done consistently. So first of all, know at the budding stage, you pick some skills, then you realize that I'm good with speaking. I'm good with handling things. I'm good with people. So that may likely be a good career path for me. You start, you think it's good, then you make consistent effort. And before I end this, I'll say something which I wanted to say. There's a lot of, I hear a lot of side hustle, this or that. And I feel that in today's world, this so-called side hustle take a lot of people away from their main hustle, from developing their core career path. So they are walking around selling things that are not even earning them any much, you know, and not spending time to develop their skills in the main work. So 10 years down the line, he or she hasn't learned anything, just chasing whatever they call side hustle, you know, selling things. If it takes more effort and it's taking you from your main hustle, it's not worth it. And this is the few times that you can say it's not all about money, right? Because the side hustle thing sometimes is about the money. But if it's something that complements your career, fine. You are a researcher, you get a side gig in research, it all comes together. You're a teacher, you get a side gig in research, it all comes together. But if you are throwing yourself very thin all over the place, you'd realize after 5 years that you don't have anything. I have people who come to me and ask for a job. They've been working for 5 years. You look at their CV, and it's nothing. You can't recommend them for anything. You can't say that this guy can work on something economics or health because they've dropped, you know, here and there. Meanwhile, you could have been consistent in one place to build something for like 3-4 years, gain some skills, so that even if you want to change, it's still the same path, even though it's a branch, but you still have the traces of what you've learned in the past. So this is how I think about what your career path is, and not just jumping into things. Initially, it may not seem bright, and then also, especially people who are doing their own work. That's your career also. But what is the path? You should see it in a progressive manner. Today, I have one camera as a photographer. Sorry, we are using you because you are the most closest. What is my plan for the next 2 years? Have additional camera. Is there any technology I can infuse into my work? You invest in this, you learn about them. In the next 5 years, I need to have it not as a one-man show. I need to have like 10 people so that we can have 3 events in a day. This is how you are growing your business, and that's your career path. So in 15 years' time, you are some media company doing so many things, right? Because you make consistent effort. It's not like today you are in camera. Oh, next year you hear about cryptocurrency, you put your camera down and then go and chase and come back next year, you lose your clients, and then 5 years down the line, you are still holding one camera. Now back to mentorship. Back to mentorship. I have had very unique opportunities of being mentored, even right from early stage. So I'm one person who thought my mother would pamper me, so I will not live with my mother. So even very young age, I'll leave my parents' house and go and stay with someone because I don't want my mother to pamper me. I was childish thoughts. I don't know why I was thinking that way. But my parents were a bit flexible, so they would allow me. And there, I get so much exposed to other parents' way of raising their kids. Then I learned from it. Even when I was in uni, when I was doing my master's, I chose one of my classmates who was an elderly person whose wife was a lecturer on campus as a friend. And I went to stay with them for about 2 years just to be with them and learn stuff, okay? And there I learned so many things in my life. So you have to know that you need someone to mentor you. Be in the lookout, because there are so many people out there who are also looking for people they can also support in a way, okay? So first, know that you need a mentor is the first step. And then be on the lookout, thinking that there are many people out there who are willing to mentor you. 3, know what you want from the people you want their mentorship. And the way to identify is what they are doing. Why do you even want them to mentor you? Don't just walk to me and say, you want me to mentor you about what? When Jackie came to me, she had a question on what to do. And so we were able to have a very focused conversation. And we moved on from there. Anytime I meet her in our check-ins, we have specific things we are talking about. And it's about the career. I'm not her mentor in marriage. Maybe sometimes in our conversation we talk about marriage and all, but that's not it. It's more career. The people I went to stay with on KNUST campus, I was there for their family, the way their family setting. That is what I was learning from them. I wasn't learning career things from them, right? Even though they are accomplished, people. I was learning how they are managing their kids, their marriage, their relationship with others, and I was very specific with that. Okay, so I learned a lot. And then when you are learning, look at what they do and what they don't do. Because for me, you learn a lot from what people don't do, sometimes than even what they do. And then know what you want to pick from them and what you don't want to pick from them. Because we are all humans. We are not perfect people. So the fact that someone is your mentor doesn't mean that if he is alcoholic, then you also start drinking small because, oh, even my mentor drinks more, so let me do it, right? So know what you want to pick from them and what you do not want to pick from them. Study what they do and what they do not do, and then gradually you see that you'll be picking things. And yourself, also try to be a mentor. It doesn't matter how young or old you are. And that has been one of my motivations. I always said that when I finish my first degree, I want to take care of my sisters. Not that my parents couldn't, but that was my motive. So as soon as I finished first degree, I started taking care of one of my sisters. I took her from her school, took her to another school, which was more expensive, and I was working to pay her school fees, and I took her throughout. That was my way of also mentoring her. And you also get to learn so much because you have some expectations of someone. Then you realize that, oh, you have then a self-reflection that who am I? And especially if it's a close sibling, you realize that the traits are similar. So you realize that, oh, the way I'm shouting at my sister, meanwhile I'm the same. So I have to also learn and change. So the more you also offer mentorship, then you see something in you that you have to change, which is also very important. And in fact, it's the best way to actually learn because you won't be told, well, that when you are sleeping, you realize that you need to change some things about yourself. So yes, let's look out for mentors, but let's also make ourselves mentors for other people.
What a solemn way to end the conversation. We are being inspired to be receivers, to be learners, but also to be givers. And this in a very wide spectrum. I hope you captured it, because that's my takeaway. I am glad that you gave us a chance to be your panelists. This is the Times Talk Show. We aim to delve deep in problems, the challenges, and the solutions surrounding our career decisions. We want to ensure that we don't only look at one side of the problem, but holistically to look at the spectrum. What role do I play? How do we encourage stakeholders, industry, to also play their role? Then collectively, we hope to bring some change. My name is Jacqueline Sarkodie. It's been nice to host you, and have a lovely day.